Hello, gorgeous, and welcome to the Women on Top podcast. I'm your host, Valerie Lynn, and with over 15 years of business experience, I became truly passionate about finding ways to support and hear from way more women. And what we know to be true is that women thrive when they are in their favorite position, on top in business, in relationships, in personal growth, and on top in being real and authentic to who the hell they are. So I invite you to sit back and enjoy the Women on Top podcast. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be sitting here with my next guest. And so welcome back, everybody listening in. Welcome to another amazing episode of the Women on Top podcast. I just love doing this. And today I have one of the most fun people. I'm like not even kidding when I say that. And I've told her this, she is somebody that makes you feel so seen because of how she leads herself. So I have sitting here with me, Shana Yurko, who is like a video extraordinaire, video producer, video marketing, YouTube coach, all the things. She's a 12-year veteran video producer. She's been in like the brand building scene. She's also a mom of two, and she recently hit over 1 million views on YouTube, I believe. So hot damn. And I just really am so attracted. Like I wanted to bring her in to have the conversation around like how to show up authentically, how to kind of peel back these layers, which we hear that word authentic. I feel like it's such a buzzword, but I feel like Shana is the epitome of a woman on top in the sense that she really walks the walk. And she's had like experience in Hollywood with beauty, like working with all the people. So I'm just so thrilled that you're here, Shana. Thank you for joining us.
Oh my God, what a great introduction. Like if I ever need a hype girl, I'm gonna like slide into your DMs and be like, Valerie, please.
I'll come with the pom-poms and the glitter. It'll be great.
So great. Well, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. I really am so excited to be here. And we can like spill the tea on video and
I'm so glad.
All the secrets. Let's go. Let's freaking go.
I feel like there's so many women who are out there listening who are like trying to build brands. And so I just feel like this is such a timely conversation right now. I just kind of honestly, like, this is a weird question, but I just really want to start with, have you always been like this? And the reason I'm asking that question is because I myself, like part of the reason I love you is because I feel like I'm a fellow weirdo and I am awkward and I have never fully been able to like own it. And I still sometimes struggle with like, oh gosh, how much is too much, right? And so what I love about you is you're just like completely owning it. So have you always been like this? What's the journey there?
I'm obsessed with this question. And for anyone who's listening in, Valerie and I saw each other a couple of weekends ago when I was speaking on stage about like embracing your weird and how your weirdness might actually be your superpower. And like, let's say you're someone who is considered too sensitive. Maybe empathy is your superpower. Maybe you're someone who is over the top, animated, insane, crazy like me, big wild energy. And that is also my superpower. I get a lot done really fast. And it also lends really well to my creative energy, but it's not always for everyone, right? So being weird, it is something that has gotten me in trouble before, or like being too big or too loud or too much. And I think as women, we really struggle with that, like being defined as that, because everyone wants to fit in. Right? Everyone wants to be accepted. And I think that to answer your question, have I always been like this? Yes, 1000% I have. However, so I'm a really big nerd when it comes to human design and Enneagram. Super excited about it. Human design, I feel like really explains how people are wired to operate and how your energy operates in this world. But then Enneagram is more about your motivation and like what you care about and what drives you. And so I'm a manifester, Enneagram 3. And so manifestors, we have big wild urges and like can get a lot done really quickly. But then also we have these insane rest cycles where we just like need to sleep for days. But my Enneagram 3 side is the achiever. And so that is the part of me that isn't always the best at accepting her weird. And isn't always the best at being okay with like standing out for a reason that might not necessarily feel great in the moment. So like in high school, I definitely fit myself into boxes where I could fit in and like probably dimmed my light, made myself feel a little smaller, didn't really chase the things that I really wanted to chase. But it was also in high school where like I used to play soccer, and soccer was amazing. I loved it. It was great. And then I got injured and I wasn't as good anymore. So my achiever self was like, you suck. You shouldn't be doing this. And like, it made me really sad. And then I finally was able to kind of like dive into the creative side of my interests, and I joined theater in like junior year ish. And it opened up this newfound love of expressing my creativity that I feel like has stuck with me. So to answer your question, yes, I've always been this way, but it did take a while to like learn to accept the different parts of myself that are not necessarily the whole world's cup of tea.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you mentioned that. Like it takes a while because maybe for some people, there's like a switch that goes off and they just all of a sudden change and boom, they're like their authentic self. I don't know. But I feel like it's this kind of uncovering. And hopefully, at least what I tell myself is, I hope I'm doing this forever. I hope I'm embracing myself and these pieces of me that come to light forever, and that I continue to shine light on all parts of it, not just like the bright, but the weird and the awkward. And like something I'm transparently like, I look back at my podcast sometimes, I'm like, what is my face doing? Like, what is going on? And thankfully, I have people who are like, it doesn't matter, like just whatever, like own it. There are people who like Conan O'Brien, whoever you look up to, that are just like
Love it.
owning who they are. And
Yes.
so I really appreciate that. Was there like a pivotal moment for you that you decided like, gosh, I am going to go all in on what I want to do right now? Like, was there kind of a defining moment for you in your business where you kind of switched something and decided to take a more aligned path, I guess is kind of where I'm going with this.
I love that question. I really want to address your whole, like your face. What is my face doing on this podcast?
Yes, please.
That is a very normal thing. First of all, I help people with video, and I'm a video coach. And like, one, it's very normal to watch yourself back and be like, is that what I really look like? But your face is awesome. But also I wanted to let you know, I have a very odd in between face. So if anyone pauses my videos like mid speak, oh my gosh, I would love for people to like start sending me screenshots or something of it, because it's comical. But at the same time, like when I'm looking at you, Valerie, you're beautiful. And like when you're speaking, you have a beautiful face. But like if someone takes a screenshot
My eyes
of
like,
me, yeah, exactly. It's like we have this like,
I turned into an alien. Like, what's happening with me?
but I think just being able to like smile and laugh at that and be like, oh, well, that's like an interesting picture. It's fine. And then
That
just
should
like
be a
moving
meme
on.
on somebody's t-shirt. Yeah.
Oh my God, amazing. So sorry, I totally like went on a tangent there.
No. And
But
actually, like, I love that you kind of went there because I think so many people probably deal with it, which is why I brought it up. I also love that you brought up the Enneagram piece. I'm also a 3, like, I resonate with some of that too.
Mhm.
And the theater as well. So we could like jam on. Yeah. So I was in theater in high school too. So it's just fun to like look back at some of these things. And I think that was like the relay I was going to make is like when we're looking at like the authentic parts of ourselves, it's kind of fun to connect some of those dots back to like
Yes,
what you used to do. So there's that.
absolutely. Oh my gosh. And that's actually like a really fun exercise. I know that there's a lot of people when they think about it, they're like, I don't really know like who I am or
Yeah.
like what I like, especially um as women and as adult women. First of all, being an adult woman and like trying to find friends, like it's hard. You're not put in rooms automatically with people like you were in school.
Yeah.
So you have to actually like go outside of yourself and find friends in that way. However, trying to figure out what you want from your life and what you like when either you already have established friend groups, or if you're a mom and you all you have time for is basically you go to work, you make sure your kids get to school or daycare, and then at night you make sure everyone gets fed and that you have some time for you and your partner if you have a partner. And like at the end of the day, it's like, okay, what did I do for myself today? And that's so common. And when we get in those routines, and a lot of entrepreneurs I think fall into that too, whether you have a family or not, like what is it that we really love and that we stand for, and that how do we want to be seen, how do we want to show up in the world?
Mm.
And so I think that's actually a really fun exercise to kind of like go back through your life and be like, when were some times that were where I felt the happiest or
Yeah.
most fulfilled? And then go even deeper and be like, okay, well, what did I love about that? Because for me, I loved playing soccer. But at this
Mm.
point, if I were to play soccer, I would be injured within 30 seconds. But I think what I loved about it was being able to use my body in a physical capacity to do something that I loved. And so I can find that now in hiking, in getting an awesome workout in a way that it's not going to injure me. Like, or playing with my kids in a way that is like going to the ninja gym or something, you know?
Yeah, I love
So,
that. It is a good exercise.
so
Sorry,
fun.
keep going.
No, don't be sorry at all. So, going back to your question, was there ever a point where I felt like I shifted
Mhm.
and moved into something that felt more aligned? Yes. And we're talking specifically about business, right?
I mean, it could be anything, but that was what I was kind of thinking. Just because I know you've shifted in some industries, I think.
Yes,
And so sometimes I feel like there's standout moments along the journey. And that's kind of where I was going with you. Is like, do you recall a moment where you were like, ooh, this isn't aligned for me anymore? And you made that shift.
absolutely. So there's a recent one, and then there's one that basically catapulted my start of my business.
Ooh.
So, and to be honest, they were the birth of both of my children.
Oh,
So one is 6 years ago. And I feel like this happens when people have kids sometimes, but also you can find things that are more aligned without going through that huge
sure. Yeah.
monumental transformation in your life. But with my first pregnancy, I had a really hard pregnancy. I was on bed rest for 9 weeks and like working from bed. And I worked for someone else at the time. And I kept feeling like it wasn't the right move for me. And I don't know, I kept hearing comments from people like, oh, you might not want to work afterward.
Mm,
You might not want to work after you have your baby. And I was like, but I need a job. Like I need to help support my family. I need to go back to work. And so with all of that in mind, I started to really think about how I wanted to spend my time. And when I was on bed rest, I was literally working like 14-hour days because what else am I going to do other
yeah.
than just like edit in my bed? It kind of kept me sane. But the work that I was doing wasn't enough at
Mm,
the time for that. Like I was getting more done than I would have in the office.
hmm
But I kept hearing comments like, this isn't working. Like, I don't like the way this situation is playing out. And I was like, well, I'm pregnant and I don't know what to do. So
mm,
I ended up deciding to freelance. After I had my baby, I was like, I would like to spend more time at home with my kid and work and do things based on like a gig,
mm. Yeah.
like a gig system. So for anyone who doesn't know, like the video production industry, especially out in LA, you can work like one day for a 12-hour shoot and you can just sign on for random miscellaneous shoots as long as you have good connections. And so I kind of did that. I also started to find my own clients.
Mm,
And over time, I figured out like what I liked to do and how much I loved creating and really just kind of like bringing the creativity out of in other people and entrepreneurs specifically. So that was the time when I felt like I moved from being out of alignment and unhappy with my situation and actually pursuing what I wanted to do and being able to play by my own rules and set my own boundaries of, okay, this is the scope of my work and what I'm going to offer to my clients. And I'm going to deliver super amazing products and deliverables, but I get to do it based on how I want to do things. And so that felt really
mm.
aligned. And then more recently, let me think. So I had my business, was working with clients, and I worked with big brands, which was really fun. And I would create like product content.
Yeah.
And that was very fun. I got to be creative. It was always a little bit like of a loner project where I'm like in my studio, like setting up all these little props. It was very fun. But I really, really loved working with entrepreneurs. And I
Mm,
ended up transitioning into coaching and course creation in addition to content creation. Because this was right before 2020, right before the pandemic, when everyone realized, oh my gosh, I need to be on video. Are you kidding? And I realized I could teach people how to be on video. Like, this is what I do. And I'm the person who's behind the camera helping other people feel confident and comfortable. And it feels easy for me. Why can't I make it feel easy for other people? And
Mm-hmm.
that was another moment where I was like, okay, this is something that feels really good. So those are two really big like shifts that I made where I felt like I moved into more of an alignment with what I wanted to do. And I don't know, with something that felt rewarding, because I love, love, love. Like I like working with men as well,
Mm-hmm.
but I love working with women because we have such a specific set of confidence issues that plague pretty much everyone who is a woman. And I don't know, it's so rewarding to be able to see people feel beautiful or feel empowered to get their message out there and get their business out there so that they can support their family with their business, or so they can work toward that big vacation that they want, or so that they can hit the spa at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday. Like, it's fun to be able to empower other women in that way. So that was a really long-winded answer to your question.
No, I love it because I mean, there's so much underneath what you just said as far as like the meaning. And something that I think you articulated really well is like sometimes you just have to take action. Like you have to actually just try something. I feel like that is the only way that I've been able to kind of discover what I love as well, because you kind of think it
Yes.
might be something. And then you realize, gosh, that's not, for some reason, this isn't in alignment. It's not that it's better or worse or whatever, but it's just not for me right now. And then you pursue something different. And I really appreciate that. But then the thing I really want to dive into is the confidence piece, because I can't wait to hear like, what are some of those confidence issues that specifically women face that you saw in the industry? And this came from Hollywood too. So I want everyone listening to understand this is not just the entrepreneur, like not that it
No.
matters, but just I think we put Hollywood on this big pedestal. We
Yes.
always have, even if we don't think we do. It's like burned into our subconscious as little
Yes.
girls that like this is the standard of beauty. So I would love to hear from your experience, like what are all these confidence issues all about?
100%. So, I mean, I am a millennial. I grew up in the age where I watched the shows on the CW where they had the stick thin, model, skinny, white actresses.
Yeah,
And that was the standard of beauty.
right.
And if you were not that, then you felt less than. And that was just how it was. And people wanted to be skinny, people wanted to lose weight. It was just the thing, right? And being the Hollywood and Los Angeles production industry, I worked in the commercial space. So it wasn't as much movies. I did work on a couple of movie sets, but the commercial space was really fun for me. And for anyone who's listening, I worked in the beauty industry as well. My very first job in the production industry was at InStyler. Actually, my very first job was getting coffee for rappers at a recording studio, which is a whole other
Oh,
scene, but I want to get to the confidence piece. So my first like video production where I'm on set, I'm working with the people in this industry that I love so much, creating something from nothing, was at InStyler, which is like the rotating barrel hair iron that you used to see on infomercials back in the day.
yeah.
PS, making infomercials is a hoot and a half, and I freaking loved it. But it also teaches you a really formulaic way of selling. So I feel like that lended really well to where I'm at now, where I teach people how to sell with video. But when I was working with these women in the commercial space, a lot of like everything is based on budget. And when you're bringing in models, it's for a beauty infomercial. A lot of times you want to find the up and coming girls who, you know, in a few months, like they're going to book some spots on some TV shows and then they're going to rise up in the ranks. But you want to catch them on their way up because then they work within your budget and they're also awesome and professional and great. So I got to work with some really talented, beautiful, insanely awesome women.
Mm,
But so often they also struggled with the same confidence issues that we do
mm,
as like regular humans who are not on TV for a living. And it was really eye-opening for me. I was like, wow, like if you are feeling bad about yourself, like what does that say about me? But then I like really unwrapped that, because also anyone who's listening, oh my God, my brain, it just went out the window. Sorry. I actually went through therapy for an eating disorder and was able to like rewire my brain and heal from that. And that was like a big part of my early 20s before I got to the production industry. So when I had these thoughts coming in my head of like, well, what does that say about me? I'm like, no, it doesn't say anything about me. It just says something about her. And she struggles with the same thing that I struggled with, and maybe even more complex things because she's in more of a spotlight. Like, so what I would love for everyone who's listening to know is that every single person comes with their own baggage, whether they are supermodel thin or whether they are a different, I don't know, like no matter what you look like, no matter how you show up in this world, everyone comes with their own baggage, and models and actresses are no exception. So that was like an eye-opening thing for me. Also, I want everyone to know they have their Botox providers, they have a hair team, they have a makeup team, they have a wardrobe stylist who is literally like putting little pins in to make sure that their outfit fits perfectly for their body. And when we are shooting on set, so what everyone sees as like a finished product, they have that entire team there, maybe not like Botox providers, but they have a hair team, a makeup team, a stylist, and other people watching to make sure they don't get too shiny. If they have light skin, to make sure they don't get too dull. If they have darker skin, making sure that there's not a hair out of place. And if there is, they say, okay, a hair's flying in. They go in, they fix it, and they redo it. So it's like, these are things that people don't see when they look at this amazing, beautiful image that's created for TV or for Netflix or whatever. I mean, I guess that is TV. So I want everyone to kind of like take it off the pedestal and remember these people have an entire team who spend 14 hours of their day to create this 2-minute scene.
Oh
So
my gosh.
a lot
So
of
crazy.
work goes into that, you know?
We forget that. It's so, I hear it and I'm like, oh, of course. Like, and it immediately shifts my mindset even now. But then like you walk away and you kind of forget that. So I hope we can anchor that into our brain. And now when I see commercials, I'm like remembering what Shana said. Like this literally, if I had a team walking around, like following me doing that, and then we could be looking like a lot of things.
Yeah. And like, don't even get me started on if there's any part of their body showing. There's so much body makeup that is involved as well. And like, there's also a lighting team. Anyone who's ever tried to shoot a video of themselves, you probably know light makes a huge difference. And if you don't, then please understand light makes a huge difference. And it can either make you look really beautiful or really scary. And with the lighting that they use in movies and on commercials, and especially in the beauty industry, it is expensive light. So we can't walk around with that all the time. Basically, like what I like to do when I'm teaching people about video, I like to basically pull back this metaphorical curtain of like, this is not real. What you are seeing on TV is not real. And it is a performance and it is contrived and it is hard work and it should be appreciated. But it should not be what we strive to be every day because it's unattainable. And so I want to pull that metaphorical curtain back first. Then I want to show you, here's how to show up as your best self in the best light possible, and that's good enough. And the more that you put the reps in with your videos, the better you're going to get. Like it's literally impossible to not get better if you keep doing it. Truly. Video is one of those things where it's like, okay, I posted a video last year, and if I looked at the video I posted this year, it's way better because of a lot of different things, but mostly because I'm putting in the reps and getting the practice in.
Yeah. Totally.
Hopefully that answers some.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the background of all of the history of the work that you've done because it paints it not only in the sense of like, gosh, I need to kind of put this off of a pedestal, but put it on a different pedestal, not like off, but on a different one in the sense of like, this is an art form. If you spent any time doing that with anything, like not just like a human, but even like I don't know, like a literal piece of art or an object or whatever, you can make it look just insanely awesome. But it's just remembering that, like locking that into our mind and kind of removing that as the standard. And I think that's the bigger lesson here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with that, I think it is really important. Like, obviously, we want to be kinder to ourselves. We do need to shift the way we speak to ourselves. But shifting the way that we speak about other women is also a really powerful part of that step. And what you just said, shifting the pedestal that we're putting these things on and these images that we see, instead of like, I almost imagine it like, if you are comparing yourself or like saying something mean about another woman, it's almost like we're spewing hatred like out of our brain. right? Or out of our heart.
Yeah.
And instead of doing that, like spew compliments, like, wow, they made her look amazing. She crushed it in this scene. Her skin is glowing. I wonder what light they use to make it look like that and what highlighter she uses because it's fabulous.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
instead of spreading that hatred, like spread the love from them and it comes back to you.
I love that. I think that's such a good perspective too, because it's also like making it about the art again, because you're saying like, gosh, they made her look so great. And like, I love how this scene comes together and she's like got her dress flowing or whatever. And so now you can imagine it from a production standpoint. And I think that that's where it's like, oh gosh, I can compliment her. If I'm comparing myself to her, it's a little harder to do because now I'm somehow making it about her versus me. And that's a whole different ball game. So I really love that. I want to just get into like, if somebody, I'm like thinking of myself, wants to start getting more into video. You mentioned so many things when you're talking about this. So you mentioned like lighting.
Yes.
You're talking about putting in the reps. You're talking about all the like makeup, all this stuff. How can we start if somebody's starting a YouTube? Let's start there. If somebody wants to start a YouTube channel, because YouTube is like one of the most common video platforms out there, if not like the only one. If someone wants to start that, a woman out there, what are some of the things she should start with? What can she buy like equipment wise that's not going to completely break the bank? What are some of those just starting hot takes that you can give us?
Okay. So first and foremost, if you are like really nervous about video, I wouldn't recommend starting on YouTube first. I would recommend starting on Instagram stories. They disappear after 24 hours. You can put in good reps and like work on trying to make good quality videos. Don't spend too much time on them because they do disappear after 24 hours. But once you feel comfortable with an Instagram story, post an Instagram reel of you talking to the camera, because those can be a lot shorter. And YouTube, I like to say, should be maybe like 2 minutes or more, but don't add fluff if you don't have a video that's 2 minutes long. If you can say it in 30 seconds, say it in 30 seconds. Don't say the 2 minute version. But with video, I would recommend doing it in that order if you are nervous or uncomfortable, just so you can build up your confidence with the different video types. However, if you're just jumping into YouTube and you want to make better videos, I always tell people to look at your light, your look, and your sound. So your light is basically, you want a nice diffused light that is shining at your face, toward your face. A really easy way of doing this without buying a thing is to literally find a window in your house and face toward it. And then you can either put your phone, like suction cup mount to the window so that it is looking directly at you and you have a really beautiful image with that natural light. You don't necessarily want to do it at sunset when the sun is like beating right into the window. That's not cute, but that's a really easy way to get started for $0 in the lighting category. So light, look, and sound. The look, show up as your best self on video. It will give you that added layer of confidence. So like I always tell people, get the level of ready you would if you're like going out to brunch with someone who you don't want to look like an idiot in front of, like your judgy neighbor down the street or something. So dress confidently and show up and be like, I am a baddie. Like I am dope AF. I can do this. And it's going to help you feel better about your performance on video because you're not worrying about how you look. Okay. So get ready, focus on your look. And also your look should represent what your brand is. So for me, like I can dress casually. I can also dress in a blazer because I'm a video operator. Like that is how I show up to work. I like to tell people if you're a nurse or in the medical field, show up in your scrubs. Like you want to establish your credibility right away, right? So wear what you wear in your industry and what you would wear if you are meeting with a client. So that is your look, light, look, and then sound. It's always best to use a microphone because people will watch a video that has subpar visuals, but they will not watch a video that has bad audio. Like if you can think about maybe a YouTuber that's out in a field and the wind is whipping their face and you can't hear the wind too bad, you can hear their voice, you'll watch that. But if all you hear is, you're not going to listen.
Totally. Yeah.
It's overwhelmingly awful. So a microphone, you can get a cheap microphone. I love Rode, Rode. I think it's called like the Rode Video Micro. And it can plug into your phone. You can use your phone when you're just getting started because our phone cameras are really good. Just all you have to make sure you do, clean the lens because we get a lot of oils on the lens and it can make video quality really bad. And that is all I would recommend if you're just getting started. And then put in the reps, focus on what you're going to say. Okay. Knowing what you're going to say before you get on camera really takes the pressure off when you are filming. And if you can like categorize things into a hook, body, and a call to action, you're going to have a quality video. So hook, get their attention; body, deliver your value; call to action, tell them what you want them to do. Do you want them to download your lead magnet? Do you want them to follow you? Do you want them to subscribe to your YouTube channel? Boom, you have a video. Was that an easy
Yeah.
formula to
I
maybe
love that there's
take
the
and implement?
3 parts for each. Like when you're talking about the look, the light, and the sound, and then also the hook, the body, and the call to action. I'll
Yes, ma'am.
actually make sure too for everyone listening, because I know like you might be listening in the car. So we'll put this in the notes for you. But
Yay.
I really appreciate like just the ease of that, because that's something that I can remember. And then something that you said that I didn't really know until more recently was this whole idea of like having something kind of written out for yourself. And it's not because I want to read it and sound like a robot, but it helps my brain, because when you start filming, something weird happens where all of a sudden you're like you literally don't know. You're like, oh, I was going to talk about this thing. And in my head sounded great. And all of a sudden I
Yeah.
sound like an idiot. Yeah.
It's really hard to have an original thought when you have a
Right.
camera recording your face. It is extremely hard. And I actually was on a $50,000 shoot where the person who was organizing it wanted things to sound really natural and off the cuff. And I was like, okay, who are we hiring to do this natural off the cuff thing? Because some people can do that. Some people are freaks of nature and they are awesome at doing that. Like, and the more experience that you get, the easier that becomes. That is something that people can get to, but it is not most people. 90% of people need to have a plan to show up polished. And so on this $50,000 shoot, that what needed to go very smoothly, and we needed to accomplish things by certain times because we're paying all this money to get this content. We did not have a teleprompter or like a script that they went with. And we were basically bringing in these people who were subject matter experts. They were experts in their field, but they weren't experts on camera. And so it took a lot longer for us, and it took a lot more of the people behind the camera pulling these performances out.
Yeah.
And it still wasn't as good as if we would have had a script. And we had to do a lot of editing magic. It basically made things take 10 times longer than if we would have had a script or a teleprompter. And so I always recommend to people, like, if you've never recorded with a teleprompter, try it at least once. It's not for everyone. I record all of my YouTube videos, almost all of them, with a teleprompter. If I have to,
Really?
yes, if I have to teach a very specific thing, because I'm a rambler, I like to ramble.
Yeah.
Videos do a lot better when they get to the point as quickly as possible. So if there's rambling, if there's a lot of or like beating around the bush trying to figure out what you're trying to say, which is what we most times do if we have a camera pointing at our face and we're trying to have an original thought, then that's what's going to happen.
Absolutely. I love that. That's so good. And again, just like such a tactical tool. I think even just writing it out, because I do know those freaks of nature who are just so good. And it's
Yes.
like, oh, I just talk to, I just do my podcast. I just talk about whatever. And I'm like, I have tried and it sounds like absolute, I don't even know what's happening. So I would definitely say, even like for presentation, like this just applies so broadly. So I really love that. You talked also about like how long it can take, right? Like when you don't have these things happening. So I want to
Yes.
tie this into, it feels like it takes me sometimes forever to create just like a reel or just something, a video. So this is why for me, video feels daunting. Can you help me like simplify this so it doesn't
Yeah.
take so long? Is there a very easy way that we can create some of this video content without it being like, gosh, it take me like at least 30 minutes to an hour just to like put this one thing out?
Absolutely. So I actually have a fast and easy video checklist that I'd love to share with your audience. And it basically breaks down my visual storytelling method. And this is the method for making videos that I used when I was producing $50,000 shoots and also when I produce $0 shoots in my living room. It's what I teach all my clients, my students, and it helps you to make things video fast and easily. It all boils down to having a good plan first and basically like understanding, okay, where am I posting this? So which way do I need to turn my camera? Simple. What equipment do I need so I can get it together the night before? And that could just be like my microphone and the little cable that plugs into my phone and then my window. But getting it done beforehand, it eliminates all the decision overwhelm that happens in the moment of making the video. But the most important thing to plan beforehand is also the message of your video, whether that's a script and you're like talking to the camera, or if you're making a reel with B-roll, what is the text that you're putting on the screen? What is it that you are trying to get people to do? What is going to be written in the caption? Like, how are you going to get people to engage? That should be planned before you either film or edit it. Okay.
So good. I'm having like an epiphany. Like I've been doing this backwards. Sorry, keep going.
No, don't be sorry at all. Because when we are trying to have an original thought, like recording a direct to camera video,
Yeah.
it's kind of similar when we're sitting there looking at this B-roll playing on our screen on a loop on the phone screen, and we're like, oh my God, I am coming up blank. I don't know what I want to post today. So I would write things down away from the camera, away from the video, because that's like planning from a place of power and a place of confidence. And you're like, okay, this is strategic and this will work. Then you carry out that plan. And if you find yourself second guessing it, just remind yourself, no, powerful Shana planned this. Strategic Shana planned this. It's going to work. I just need to like trust that it's going to work and just do it.
Yeah.
And then you post it. So hopefully that can help you
Yes.
go a little faster. Also, if you were to use a script or a list of bullet points for a talking to camera video, it cuts your editing time down significantly because you don't have to find all the mistakes.
Yeah.
That's half the reason I use a prompter, is because I can film faster and I can edit faster. So those are my tips for you.
Yeah, collapse time. And I just got so much out of that just now, because again, I've been thinking of it in the sense of like, oh, just like, because sometimes you hear just film yourself and then just,
I know.
it doesn't matter. Just do it. And I just keep thinking to myself, I should just be making content. Well, what the hell does that even mean? Just be making content. Right. And so I really resonate with like, gosh, I could almost put on like my, like, okay, we're like production manager like right now. And let's go into like planning mode and really think of this in like a CEO like mindset way, where what are we talking about now? The creation is so easy because you've created this sandbox for it, and you're not trying to do it all like in the moment, and then you're just like, forget it, and you I'm just done.
Yeah, that's so easy to do though. Oh my God, I love that analogy of you've created the sandbox for it. I'm obsessed with that.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love a good like frame, because then I get to like you can play from that space.
Yes.
Most people, including me, especially like if you're an achiever, you're a highly motivated woman, all of that, like just letting go of any boundaries and being like, just go create. Like again,
that gives you so much overwhelm when you're like, what?
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell to make for dinner, right? Like I'm trying to create that, okay?
Yeah.
But creating a video about me, there's a whole other level of daunting. So I think if we create that, gosh, I just was like, that just opened up a whole new level of freedom for me.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
And hopefully to all the people listening, right?
Absolutely.
So I feel like when I talk to you, anyone can feel this. It's just palpable how passionate you are about video, but teaching women about this and really working with women, like just watching you at events with your, you've got your camera and you're like working all the angles and you're just like so in it.
Yes.
What is this doing for you in terms of like your legacy? What do you feel like is happening with this video space? And like, yeah, how does that tie to the legacy that you're leaving?
Dang, that's a deep question. I like it. Okay, so in terms of the video industry, there's a lot of dudes who are in this industry and they're good. They're great. But I think that being able to capture things from the female lens is really useful. And also having the beauty background, knowing how to make women look and feel beautiful on camera is a really great art. And if I can leave this earth helping other people to feel confident in their body, in their work, in life, and to be able to step into their authentic self and feel good about themselves, I want to affect as many women as I can. And whether that means like I'm teaching you how to show up on video confidently and articulately and in a way that doesn't take up all your time and money, or like filming events like where I saw you a couple weeks ago, where I get to just let women shine. God, it just lights me up so much to be able to highlight that for people, because I want people to see themselves how I see them. Like there's so much beauty in every single woman that I meet. And like, whether it's from their passion or their perspective on life or their just internal glow. And not everyone can see that about themselves because we're so wrapped up in like, okay, here's what we have to do today. Here's what we have to show up and stress about. And people don't necessarily see their beautiful light. And I feel like me being able to be artsy and creative and goofy helps bring people out of that shell. And so if I can leave a little bit more light and happiness and like people not taking things so seriously in the world, that'll be a good legacy for me.
So beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
want to go another layer deeper.
Let's go.
Who did that for you?
I don't know.
Who does that for you today?
Makes me feel, I mean, honestly, myself. It's taken a lot of work,
Yeah.
but
Who, I guess, you know, in your, if you have like dark moments or you're just feeling ugly or whatever it is,
absolutely. Okay.
who is it that you're like has helped you see yourself? Who has been the mirror for you, the permission slip for you? Who is that person?
So I think that the permission slip and then like the mirror are a little bit different in my brain.
Sure.
But definitely my husband is phenomenal. He's amazing. And my best friends who I've surrounded myself with, who were there either during some of the darkest times and they saw me come out of it and they remind me of my worth when I'm going through those hard times again. So having those women who you can call at whatever time, and I'm not saying like call your friends at 3 a.m. because let them sleep, but having the people who you can turn to in those moments where you're not feeling like your best self is so crucial. And yes, my husband is my number one. Ride or die. He will always make me feel like I can be seen. In terms of that, having the women around me who accept me and love me no matter which season of life I'm in is really what does that for me, I suppose.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's like it's such an interesting give back, right? Because you're getting the energy from them. And that there's probably been a lot of times where you've had somebody kind of pulling you forward. I feel like you've been through certain things in life that have been tricky. So it's really great to feel that energy from these women. And then as almost like, it feels like a very pay it forward like type of situation where you're like, gosh, now I want to like also make sure all of these other women. And it feels like some of that comes from some of your experience too, working with people who maybe have a lot of darkness happening.
Absolutely.
And from your own darkness too, probably, and just finding a way to make it, mean something.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, like I actually had an epiphany moment probably when I was in college. And it was when I was in my thick of my therapy days with the whole eating disorder stuff. And I was kind of figuring out like an eating disorder is a coping mechanism. It's not necessarily just about the fact, oh, I don't like the way I look. So like I had to deal with my darker demons that were affecting me then. And one of the things I remember I was at like a graduation party or something, and some dude, I have no clue who he is. I didn't know his name then. I don't know his name now, but we were having a conversation and I am a big ball of energy all the time. But he looked at me and he said, "You're just a big ball of sunshine, aren't you?" And I was like, yes, I am. At that point, I was like in my therapy days. And I don't know if any of your listeners like ever watched One Tree Hill. You know, Peyton like does her emo drawings. I was totally doing emo drawings in a journal, trying to like cope with my feelings. But
so awesome. I can picture this. Yeah.
It's so funny. I may even have it still. I kind of want to go find it. But I imagined like I want to be seen as this big ball of sunshine. And so we have these moments, even when we're at our darkest times where we're struggling. It's in those moments of struggle where we do learn about ourselves and what we want. And a more recent like therapy that I had to go through where I felt like I had to re-love my body all over again. I recently like remembered an assault that happened when I was 16 and my brain had repressed it. And it was a lot. But through that therapy, I found some of the same things coming up of like, I had to relearn how to love my body again. And it was very weird in a different way. But during those dark times, you're able to find your people and lean on your people and also learn to love the parts of yourself that are even the things that make you weird.
Yeah.
Come full circle.
That. That's so good. I had like a moment of a health scare a couple of months ago. I mean, not like a scare, but just like a thing where they were checking something out. And what I was reflecting on was like, gosh, these moments that you have that are dark, they actually give you the biggest opening to love.
Mm-hmm.
They give you this like portal to these shadow areas that you get to all of a sudden like love in the deepest way. It's, you never want someone to go through any level of darkness,
No.
but it can be such an opening. And so I love that you're kind of pointing that out, I feel like, through what you've experienced too. So I appreciate you being so transparent.
Absolutely.
I could talk to you for literally the whole week, but I know we have to wrap this up. Dang it. I guess we'll just have to bring it back.
That'll be great.
I have this tradition on the podcast where I ask the guest that I'm interviewing to leave a quote or just a reflection or something for the next guest, not knowing who it is. So I would like to share with you what the last guest shared and then give you the opportunity to do the same thing. So my last guest, I'll give you some context and then I'll kind of give you the quote, but she was sharing about how she was always like perceived as the nice girl. Like that was the most common way people would describe her, and that she's always kind of taken that as a trait to try to show people that you can be a leader and you can be kind. And you don't just have to be extremely bold and strong, and you don't have to be mean. You can still like lift people. And so she was talking about kindness. And then she said, the quote I always share is by Maya Angelou, that people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Oh, I love them.
And it doesn't matter if you've reached 6.5 million, but if you've done that along the way of being mean, then that is not a story that inspires. But if you've done that by the way of being kind and you've lifted people along that journey, then it's going to be an incredible story.
Love it.
And I love it too. So I would love to invite you to share something that maybe is coming through to you, something that's on your heart, for the next guest that I get to interview.
Absolutely. So I think what I would want to leave people with is there's always a metaphorical curtain to be pulled back. Whoever you are looking at and comparing yourself, whoever you're looking at and comparing yourself to, if you're struggling with that, whether it's another business owner who's making way more money than you and you're like, dang, I wish I could do that. Or maybe it's someone who's climbed the corporate ladder higher than you and you're like, wow, I'm never going to make it to that level. Or you're looking at someone who's on the TV screen and you're like, dang, I could never be that beautiful or that skinny or that confident. Remember, there's always a metaphorical curtain to be pulled back. Like we talked about the metaphorical curtain with TV and the screens that we watch video on, but you don't want to compare your day one to someone else's day like 3,000 in their work. You got to remember that big business owner who you respect and admire so much. Maybe she has 10 years of experience in a team of 12 doing things and you are just starting. Like there's always a metaphorical curtain to be pulled back.
That is so perfect to leave this conversation with. And I just feel like that's so powerful. Like I needed to hear that. I feel like so many others need to hear that and just remember that. And honestly, like, thank you for being that person. And I think again, like I shared what you've done for me, but it sounds cheesy or whatever, but truly like I have sometimes felt insecure about, and still do honestly, like about how big my energy can be, about how weird, about how too much. It just feels like there's always something that just isn't, especially working in corporate, there's just a lot that goes into it in this world. And meeting somebody like you helps me remember that this is the gift. Like my personality is my superpower. And 100%. I love that you are just like walking that, like truly you embody that. And so thank you for the way that you show up. Thank you for the way that you lead. It has impacted me so much. And I am so glad that there's a woman like you who is on video and like going first. So I think what you're doing is honestly more impactful than you know. And I just wanted to share that.
Oh my God, you're making me cry.
I really love you.
I love you too.
Thank you so much for being here today, Shana. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. It was a fun conversation. I can't wait to come back.
Thank you for tuning into the show today. And before you go, I just have one quick favor to ask of you. There is a really simple way that you can help support me and help support this show, and that is to hit that follow button on whatever app you're listening to the show on. I'm trying really hard to level up the content and deliver unique value and amazing guests, and just hitting that follow button is the magic that will help continue to empower that. And remember that the world deserves to hear your voice and your stories, and you deserve a place at the top.